can't take nothing with you at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter, how much money you make or anything like that. But what did you do to change other people's lives? And then therefore, you change someone's life, and they go and change someone's lives, and then it's just a roller coaster effect.
Welcome to Building Champions for Life, where we dive into the minds of extraordinary leaders, trailblazers, and champions from every corner of the world. I'm your host, Kirk Spahn, and together we're going to meet with visionaries who've conquered challenges, shattered ceilings, and redefined what's possible. From sports, tech, entertainment, to entrepreneurship, our guests have one thing in common. They are building legacies of greatness, and they're here to share their passion and their process with you. Welcome to the show. Today we have Blake Corum. He is not just an impressive force of nature on the football field, but in typical ICL fashion, off the field, what he does for the community, his overall leadership, social entrepreneurial background, really pushing the envelope in so many different ways. Currently, he's a running back for the Rams. We just got over the NFL draft, and he knows that very well. He went 83rd in the 2024 draft, and at Michigan, he just blew numbers out of the park. Being a two-time All-American, a national champion, offensive MVP honors, offensive, that's kind of offensive to other teams. He holds a lot of school records. When you take a school like Michigan and you're the all-time leader in rushing touchdowns for a school like Michigan, that almost more in the pros, that's got to kind of be like a wow factor. More so that's kind of on the field in college. Outside of it, he is the entrepreneurial mindset. He is what a champion for life is, because already in the start of his NFL career, he's doing things that go so beyond the field, but he's applying, all the attributes off the field with philanthropic, endeavors, with an entrepreneurial mindset. A new thing, which again was not around when ICL was created, but this entire NIL, you're sort of a nascent, your origin, you're one of the patient zeros for NIL and what that is. And I think we're going to look back at this time period as the beginning of something completely different in sports. And you embrace that. And we have a mantra at ICL that says respect tradition, embrace tomorrow. And I think you exude that. So using your NIL earnings, to give back to the community, including to ICL, really focusing on youth, it's pretty impressive. And we'll get you talk a little bit about founding PEAK NIL Technologies, and being a running back and a chief strategy officer is kind of an amazing thing. I don't think you see that on the resume. We mentioned one of our other ICL champions, Dhani Jones, who created Bow Ties for a Cause, was one of the early. Maybe it's something in the water in Michigan. I don't know. You, Tom Brady, Dhani, so many diverse athletes coming from there. But your platform of connecting athletes with brands and creating opportunities, it's really great to see, and it's pretty much what we embody and we want our students to understand. So thank you for coming, and we're going to kind of jump right into it. Anything you want to say just in the intro?
Well, no, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to get to talk about the 6Ps, and I hope what I have to say, has an effect on the generation coming up.
Unbelievable. We did a little green room talk about being in the big city, but you hail from a much smaller background. So let's just go straight back. Let's get you back to my son's age. So let's take you all the way back before we even get the high school students. Let's go to like young you. When did this passion, not only for football, but like this passionate mindset begin?
I would say my passionate mindset for really just life, right? I feel like every day I wake up, it's just a blessing, I just attack it, with enthusiasm, with passion, and everything that I do. But it probably started back when I was around 6 years old. That's when I started playing football. But in terms of that, I grew up in the church as well, and so just the hard work that you had to do in terms of football, and then just being in the church, always seeing my parents give back. That always inspired me as well to be passionate, not only for football, but passionate in helping others and giving back to the community. And so I would say that's where my passion started. Right around 6 years old, I started playing t-ball at 5, and then got into tackle football right away. But I would say that's when the passion really started.
And we talk a lot about, and for those of you that are sort of first joining the show, we kind of have a straightforward approach that there's not a recipe for success. There is not a silver bullet, but there are ways and similarities combined. We compose that and we call it our 6 Ps, and it's how you take a passion to really evolve into a purpose, create the right process, showing perseverance, talking about the people that help support you, and then how you personalized it and really gain perspective. So when we go from passion to purpose, because they're two very different things. We say,
Yeah.
so how would you define, I guess, where was that transition from passion to finding your purpose in football?
Well, I would just say this, right? I have a quote that I said on Good Morning America. It just came to my mind when I was getting interviewed my sophomore year of college, right after I did a turkey drive. And I said, football is my passion, but giving back is my purpose. But when we go back to, that passion of football and what turned it into a purpose for me was realizing I'm from a small town. No one's ever they probably dreamed of it, but didn't really think they could achieve it. Of going to the NFL from a small one-stop like town. And when I started playing football, I knew I was really well. I was scoring like 4 touchdowns a game. And like you're watching Adrian Peterson on TV. You're like, I can be that person one day. I can be that running back. And then that's when the hard work came in. Right? You can have all the dreams you want in the world, but if you're not willing to put in the hard work, then they're just dreams. And so, my whole childhood, I would just work consistently every day. I would be in my room doing push-ups, sit-ups, whatever it took for me to, you know, turn my passion into a purpose and showing the kids from my area that, listen, we can dream big and we can accomplish these dreams. That's what really drove me, is being the first from where I'm from to go and do so. And that's, I'm blessed to have two great parents that realized, I could really do this from a young age. And so we would drive. When it became time to go to high school, I would have to drive. My parents would drive me from Virginia to Maryland, 2 hours there. They would go back home, go to work. Then they would come back to Maryland in the evening and pick me up. Just because I had this passion of going to the NFL, going to play college football, and they realized, this was my purpose as well, to show that, you can sacrifice, you can put all the hard work in, and your dreams can become a reality. And I did that, and now, I hold a camp back home every year. About 500 kids come.
Wow.
Every single year. And I can see in their eyes that, like, now they believe. They believe that they can turn their dreams into reality because, I started it off that way. But in terms of football, right, like getting back to the question, like, football was a passion, my whole life. And I turned it into a purpose really for everyone from my hometown that were under me, to give them inspiration that, if Blake did it, you can do it.
Wow. So you actually kind of come full circle, but you developed a super purpose early on. We talk about, purpose driven and goal setting and setting a high benchmark, but yours was beyond even like making it. You had a super purpose for supporting others right away, and that's pretty unique. I know that it was instilled in you, but I apologize to your family that we did not have ICL when you were growing up, because it probably could have saved a lot of time. But it's
100%.
it kind of goes into the next, which is the process, and what you just described. Even though that was so tough for your parents and they were sacrificing, let's talk a little bit about process, because you hinted on it that, like, you can have a passion, you make it a purpose, but the process that you adopt is really what makes or breaks you. So if you can share a little bit about your
Yeah,
process, would be
for me in my whole life, it's always been about process over prize, right? I'm getting chills thinking about it. A lot of people that I've been around, athletes, entrepreneurs, they're always looking at the end goal, right? But instead of looking at the end goal, how about we just take the process over prize method and really just embrace and be where your feet are and enjoy the process, right? Because there's so many things you learn just going through the process of being consistent, going through the adversity, coming back out on top. And for me, my whole life was just built around process. I never expected, you know, any handouts. I always expected my hard work to, show what I can do and get me to where I need to be. And so for me, like I said, it's always been process over pride. And in anything I do in life, I make sure, my feet are where I'm at. I'm embracing the process. I'm enjoying the process. And the process gets hard. It gets hard. But, if you take a little look ahead and like, okay, that's where I was. This is where I'm at. I'm getting closer to that prize. And so, like I said, my whole life has been evolved around process over prize.
I love that. I mean, and it's so true. And you're almost perfectly leading into everything we talk about, which is almost a little bit scary. I could move on, but I want to stick with it, like, because the people listening are parents of top athletes, or kids that want it. There are kids themselves that want to understand. So, again, going back, there is no silver bullet, but are there things that lessons you learned, habits or rituals that you followed that you think kept you going and allowed you to kind of keep making those leaps and jumps?
Yeah, I think for me, when I look back on, how did I get here and accomplish the things that I accomplished, one word, consistency. And that's part of the process. You can't skip any steps along the process, or else you're not going to get to where you want to be. So I was consistent. Like I said, when I was at a young age, I watched YouTube of Herschel Walker, and Herschel Walker would do something crazy, like 1,000 push-ups a night, and he did it every day. He would run miles every day, and he had this routine. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't have to do exactly that, but I can create my own routine that helps, me be consistent in what I do. And it's just those little wins, right? You don't have to get the big win right away. It's just those little wins. And, all right, I'm consistent in this. All right, what else can I be consistent in? And I read a book called Make Your Bed. And it was basically saying, if you make your bed every morning, you already won at something every day. And if you put that in perspective, it's like, okay, no matter what happens throughout the day, hey, I already won. I made my bed. And so for me, like I said, the one word was just consistent in everything I do. If I wanted to get all A's in school, okay, I need to study, and I'm gonna study every day until I get that A. It's just being consistent, and I think a lot of people that I've seen have all the potential in the world, all the smarts, the athletic abilities, but they skipped some steps along the process, right? Because they didn't want to be consistent. And as long as you can be consistent and keep doing it, even the days you don't want to do it, because I'd be lying if I said there was times where it's like, I don't want to run this hill today in my backyard, right? But it's like, all right, this hill is going to help me get to where I need to be, and it's paid off 10 times. And so that's what I would say. Enjoy the process, be consistent within the process, and you're bound to win.
You gave me chills because we talked a little bit earlier, and this resonates, right? When you talk about building champions for life, the word champion doesn't just mean you're the best on your team or you get a championship. Like, being a champion is because you did that. You had the consistency, you put the work in. I mean, there's so many ways to go with this. I'm going to kind of come back to certain things because I don't want to take too much of your time. But the next one, everything built up to the next P, which is perseverance. And bottom line is, you, when I looked more information about you, I found out you overcame. You're in a sport where one play and what you've just done for your last 15 years is all over, and you had some scary steps along the way where that happened. And I saw some videos of it, and it shocked me. So, to, if you can talk a little about what you went through, what perseverance means to you. I mean, it's a wild ride. So buckle
Well,
up, everyone.
I would say this. Everyone. Coach McVay says something really well. You're either in a storm, you're just coming out of a storm, or you're about to go in a storm, right? And so we're talking about perseverance. For me, I had a lot of perseverance, just throughout my whole athletic career, and that was having to go from a small town and drive 6-7 hours a day just to try to get a scholarship, right? That's perseverance. But the biggest one that resonates with me was it was my junior year of college. I was probably number one, number two in the Heisman race. We were winning. That I thought we were going to win a natty that year. And right before we were about to play Ohio State, I had this run, and my knee, player hit my knee, and I feel this burning sensation, and you can hear literally the 110,000 people in the stadium just go mute. And I'm sitting there holding my knee. I'm like, all right, Blake, get up, get up. I get up, go to the locker room. The doctors, they check, okay, your ACL's good. I'm like, all right, well, I can go back out there. So I come back out after halftime. I try to run the ball one more time, and my knee gives out. And at that point, we're playing Illinois. We think we're going to win the game, right? And we ended up winning. I get an MRI that night. I come in the next morning, and they're like, all right, Blake, so this is the situation. You tore your meniscus completely. You have a bone bruise. You have an MCL sprain. My first question was, can I play against Ohio State? And they said, well, you can't. Your ACL's good. They said, you can try. I said, well, I'm going to try. I'm going to try. I'm not going to leave my brothers out there alone. And so I put a brace on it. I tried. I don't really practice that week, but I tried playing Ohio State. And after my first two runs, my knee just keeps giving out on me. So that's when I go get surgery the following week. And for a second, you have these thoughts, right? It's like, and God does amazing things. I'm on this high, right? I think I'm going to win a Heisman. But then he brought me back down to reality, and you can either do two things. You can persevere through it, or you can collapse under pressure and let your thoughts get to you. Why me? Why does this have to happen to me? And, that's the even tougher road. So I had a great, circle around me that were able to motivate me just to continue to push through, a hard time that I was going through. And man, what really helped me was, I was out in the community, seeing people smile, and it was just a beautiful thing. And during perseverance, you go back to your training, your foundation. And since I was so consistent in everything that I did throughout my life, right, whether that be training, whether that be in the Bible, that the recovery, it was great because I was consistent. All it was doing was, the doctor said I had to do this. That's what I'm doing. And, there's always, when something bad happens, there's always a pro out of it. And it just helped me put things into perspective a little more. It could have been worse, right? It helped me become a better man, just going through something really hard, but coming back out on top and going to win a national championship, right? And so, perseverance is in adversity. It's not always bad. There's good in every adversity you go through. Anytime you have to persevere something, because you have two options. It's just which option you want to pick. And I tell everyone watching, pick the hard option. Go through it with your chin up, chest out, and let's go.
That's incredible. I mean, so true. I can't even describe to like what you're saying is so relevant. And at ICL, the next P, which I know resonates as well, is people, right? Like, that yes, you are an individual specimen, you've had these great accomplishments, but people, for good or bad, motivators, haters, it doesn't matter, like, are all kind of inspiring. We talk a lot about, before I get into those people that sort of affected you, we talk about Yoda. One of our partners, Dr. Jim Lair, written 17 books, and The Only Way to Win, The Power of Story, Character, but it comes down to Yoda. And I'm not talking about the Jedi green guy or even little baby Yoda. Yoda stands for your own decision advisor. Does that resonate with you? That being, we're trying to teach kids to become their own decision advisors, because you said you've talked a lot about choices you have.
Mhm.
What do you think allowed you to develop your Yoda? And it kind of goes into the next P of people.
Yeah, I think for me, I come from a great family, um, and they instilled in me, so many tools that I was just able to pull out of my toolbox whenever I needed it, right? And I just continue to go back to, you have choices in life. It's just which choices you make, good or bad. Um, and for me to be my own decision, advisor, I try to put myself in the best position to, make the right decisions, whether it be for myself or whether it be for someone else. Um, but answering that question, how did I become my own decision advisor? I think just through trial and tribulation, going through things, maybe I didn't always make the right decisions, but you can do two things when you don't make the right decisions. You can do two things from there as well, right? And I would say the main thing you can do from there that I advise everyone to do is learn from it, right? And whenever I wrestled, um, I had a singlet. I wrestled for 10 years, and wrestling's a great sport.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to wrestle, it teaches you a lot, not just about the sport, but it teaches you about life and how to adversity and things like that. But it was you never lose. You either win or you learn, and that always stuck with me too. Like, okay, maybe I didn't make the best decision right here, but I'm not going to treat that as a loss. I'm going to learn from that, go back to the drawing board, and see how I can improve myself. And so I think like just going through things, that's what really helped me become my own decision advisor.
I love that. And I mean, I guess it goes right into who are, you mentioned obviously your family, your relationship with God, but were there coaches, were there people when you look back that really helped you along that journey that you kind of, when you think back, you can't do it alone. So, if you want to kind
100%.
of shout out or talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of people that helped me get to where I'm at currently. Coaches, my running back coach from high school, Kendall, uh, he was always on me. Always, he saw the potential that I had, and he always, helped me every workout maximize my full potential. Um, in college, Coach Harbaugh, and just a football guy, loved the game of football. Always, helped the team. Um, and then currently my wife was there for me when I went through that injury. At the time, she wasn't my wife then; she's my wife now. But seeing her fly out to California with me, take care of me, make sure my mentals were good, because mental health, plays a big role in life in general, but especially when you're going through a storm. But just having those people that help you, keep your head up, show you that there's light on the other side. So I've had a great amount of people in my life to help me get to this point where I'm at, and I'm blessed.
So it's so great. I mean, listen, everything you're saying, talking about super purpose. I love the wrestling side. I mean, again, there's always something fascinating. Like most people know you as a football player. Um, Maybe you want to talk just for a second, like that. A lot of our athletes talk about passion for other sports, whether it's
Yeah.
Bodie Miller with tennis, Steve Nash with soccer, it's Novak Djokovic with skiing. How did that play a role? Like, your experience. Did you play a lot of other sports, and what was
I
wrestling
did.
to you? Yeah.
Yeah, I was blessed that my parents put me in multiple sports. Sometimes I was in two sports at once.
Bo
Um,
Jackson
but
action.
uh, but I would always advise, and I do always advise athletes, um, whether it be in elementary school or even high school, to play multiple sports because they all teach you something different. You have team sports like football, basketball, that you can learn from. You have wrestling. That's just one on one. And when you lose a one on one match, you can't blame anyone but yourself. And it's just like you have a choice after that. What can I learn from that to improve on my next match? And I played baseball, I played basketball, ran track. So they all helped me ultimately be a better football player. Football has always been my favorite sport, but each sport teaches you different things, whether it be hand-eye coordination, better footwork. So I always advise athletes to play multiple sports if they can.
That's huge. It's funny when I first lived with Tahani Jones, and he had set a record in swimming, and he kind of said the same thing. Like, practices were hard with the Giants because, hey, I'm not having to wake up at 4:30 to get to the pool every morning, and
Right,
for you. So,
right.
so it's pretty amazing, the mindset. And as we kind of get to our final sort of P's, which is really looking at everyone has a personalized pathway, right? You're sharing your experiences and their learnings, their similarities, but everyone's path is different. So, are there? I guess the first question is, if you could go back to a 14-year-old you, um, is there any like, what advice would you
Yeah.
would you give yourself?
The main advice I would give myself is compete with yourself, right? A lot of times, especially social media. I mean, I had social media, but social media is even bigger now, right? And I feel like a lot of people, not even just in sports, are always trying to compete with the person next to them, which ultimately isn't helping them at all. But if you compete with yourself every single day and you're only worried about improving yourself, you're going to improve yourself first of all, but you're going to improve the people around you.
Yeah.
So and that's something I do till this day, whether it be with the Rams and our running back group and our team. I compete with myself. I don't worry about who's starting this game, how many reps I'm getting. It's just how can Blake be a better running back, be a better special teams player, and how can I be a better teammate to ultimately help the team in my real estate journey? I'm not worried about the real estate investors that have hundreds of properties. I'm worried about my properties. How can I get the next property? And hopefully, catch them one day. But I'm just worried about myself and competing with myself each and every day. And so that's the advice I would give to my 14-year-old self.
Absolutely, and a great quote that comparison is the thief of joy. Teddy
That's it.
Roosevelt, and
Because
obviously a lot of Teddy Roosevelt, a lot of man in the arena. I mean, you are
yes,
you are the man in the arena. We talk so much about like you exude that. I mean, we talk a lot at with kids learning reading the poem If, and how you can treat triumph and disaster, those two imposters, just the same. We talk a lot about your journey, and these six P's are that whole process of the poem If, and all of these things. um, we do live in a world of social media, so much coming at us. So to stay focused, consistent, things you touched on, the consistency, the focus, it's showing up is number one, and then it's going from there, and seeing that bigger purpose. Uh, on a lighter side, just about you, right? I mean, you're a young man, still a lot of dreams, a lot to accomplish. Usually, when we're many times we're talking to champions, it's sort of after they retire, and you're like, what's next? You're doing it kind of everything, everywhere, all at once. What are some things that you're excited about, and how do you see, you know, the sort of education journey? I don't mean education just as in like academic classes, but your education as a philanthropist, an entrepreneur, a businessman, coming from a small town, like you said, and having this big vision. What are some of your goals you're setting now outside the
Yeah,
field?
yeah. I mean, I'm still dreaming big. I accomplished one goal, and I'm still doing it, and I want to continue to be a better football player. Currently, I have 12 rental properties, um, and then I have some equity in an apartment complex. I just co-founded PEAK NIL, where I realized in college only the one percenters, if you may say, were making money, and I think that's very unfair. I think everyone, worked their tails off to get to college just like I did. So everyone should be able to monetize and make money using their name, image, and likeness. And so that's something I'm working on right now. But I have so many other things I want to do. With one, going back and buying the farm that I grew up on and turning it into a camp for kids that are less fortunate, where they can come and have fun. I can teach them life skills on just how to change a tire, how to build agriculture, so they can eat off their own land, and create zip lines for them so they can just have fun, get out the environment that they're in, that maybe they're not too happy in it, and show them a different perspective on life. So that's one goal.
Can we
One thing
sign
I
up
want to do.
as adults? Can we sign up to that? And I
For
will.
sure, everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome. But and then I have some other things I want to do, and that's just part of dreaming,
We're dare to
my,
dream.
my,
That's what the
my
name.
thing is, whatever you do in life, just do it with a purpose behind it. Don't do something just for yourself. What's the purpose behind it? Who am I helping? And if you go into life like that, you're going to be successful, because it's not all about me, right? And so that's advice I would give, is just always have a purpose behind whatever you're doing.
That is so huge, and it pretty much, you just summarized everything at ICL, and I'll extend it. Whatever we can do, we're very, very mission aligned. When you align with the right people and the right groups that think that way, that farm that you can teach people, um, it's life, right? Every action, everything that you do, football, wrestling, business, but it comes back to what's on the inside, and you're in the right place with that. On a lighter note, were there movie, like, who inspired you outside of direct family? Did you have a hero? I like the Herschel Walker story. Was
Yeah.
there like music that motivated you? Was there a football player, a wrestler? I remember Kenny Monday when I was really young. He's a wrestler, but like different sports. Like who were some figures? Just sort of like a speed round of just getting to know you.
Yeah. I mean, for me, just watching Kobe Bryant go to work, um, and how he was just always in the gym. And what was the documentary? Was it? I forget which documentary it was, but it was the USA basketball team, and Kobe was in the gym when the other guys were going out to party. And by the time they got back to the hotel, Kobe just got done out the gym, and yeah, so Kobe was definitely an inspiration, just how he worked. No matter what level he was at, being one of the best basketball players ever, especially in his time. But he never, just felt like he made it, or that was enough. He was always willing to, just put the work in. The work never stops. So I would definitely say Kobe, and then a movie. It's called Facing the Giants.
That's it. That's a great one. Yeah, Mamba mentality. You could have a whole school around Mamba mentality.
100%.
No,
100%.
no doubt. For fun, you talk about the farming. Are you? I mean, you're so fit, but randomly, are you an ice cream guy or a sweets guy?
Yeah, yeah, I got a little bit of a sweet tooth.
All right.
I like ice cream. I like a good chocolate cake.
All right.
My mom
Favorite
makes it for
favorite player of ice cream, because we had some students that wanted to know some things about you that they might not be able to get online. So I'm reading some. I'm reading a couple questions here from students.
yeah. Uh,
Favorite kind of ice cream.
Favorite kind of ice cream? Oh, that's a tough one because sometimes you're just in the grocery store and you're like, "Ah, I ain't tried that one yet, but it looks pretty good." Um, hmm. I really don't have an answer because I feel like my palate likes everything.
I like it. Yeah,
And so I'm down to try any ice cream, and
I love
more
it.
times than not, every type of ice cream tastes good to me.
I like that.
So
I have a couple speed more rounds. Moved to LA. Have funniest or weirdest encounter, celebrity or not? Do you have anything since you moved to LA?
any weirdest or celebrity encounters? Um, well, this apartment I was staying at, like when you came in, you could either valet your car, or you could park it yourself, and up front it's just any type of car you could think of, Maybachs, Ferraris. I mean, and then you just have Teslas and stuff. But I mean, the first 10 cars is just foreigns,
And you were just like, what is happening?
and I'm like, man, who is it? Like one person, these multiple people cars, and then it ended up being a rapper, and he owned all 10, and I'm like, oh my goodness, why does he have so many cars? There's no way he drives all of them. But I thought that was cool a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't buy 10 cars.
No. You sound like
Uh,
you sound like you have a bigger purpose. You sound like you
I'd rather do something with however millions that cost.
do something
But
with it.
yeah, I thought that was interesting.
What about? Oh wow, these are random ones. Did you have a favorite superhero growing up?
So I dressed up as Spider-Man one time for Halloween, um, but I was never really into Marvel.
Yeah.
Uh, I was maybe a weird type of guy. I mean, on TV, I always watched like Animal Planet. I
Cool.
watched like Call of the Wild Man. He's catching snapping turtles, the Crocodile Hunter.
Yeah.
So I was never really into superheroes, but once I met my wife,
Oh,
she loved
congratulations.
Marvel, and so recently, I've gotten into Marvel just watching it with her, and um,
So let's stick to
but I'll
animals.
say,
You have a spirit like a channel an animal. Is there any animals that got you just like you relate to, like you get fired up about?
uh, I mean, the tiger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone likes a lion, but in my opinion, if a lion and a tiger were to go at it, I believe the tiger's going to win. I think they have more bite force. I think they're bigger. Um, and so, everyone says the lion's the king of the jungle. But no, you're not so far. The tiger is.
Listen, my 5-year-old does his push-ups to Eye of the Tiger. He's not quite at 1,000 yet, but Eye of the Tiger is definitely the way forward. I guess that's a good question. Are there pump-up songs or anything that gets you fired up? Those days where you don't want to do it. What gets you? Because these are the kids are going through it, right? They're training and they
Yeah.
hear this, but is there and it is hard to snap out of it. And is there? Did you have something, Ritual? Did you have a song? Did you have something you would just pump you up?
So I didn't have a song, but there's a weightlifter here. I think he was a bodybuilder. His name CT Fletcher. And if you just play one of his songs, I mean one of his like little videos, it will get you pumped up. And his language, you might have to close your ears for the language that he says, but it'll get you fired up and ready to. I ain't want to go to the gym. Well, after watching CT Fletcher,
You get
let's go.
you get you get
Yeah,
it
let's go pump some iron.
you get it fired up. I guess you kind of answered it, but if you weren't playing football, I mean, you talk about wrestling, but would there be another sport? Like, what would be your other? If you could,
Probably,
yeah.
I was a pretty good baseball player. Um, so I probably would have pursued baseball, trained a little more, took it a little more serious. I was a catcher. Uh,
Oh,
my
wow.
pop time, my pop time was pretty good. No one really stole on me. And solid hitter.
Yeah.
And so I think I would have pursued baseball. Yeah.
It's so interesting because as a running back, I mean, that's like different type of skill set. So you're sort of the we call it the all sports goofy. But like you
Right,
said, they
right.
all go to it. And I guess beyond your playing career, once you have all the rings and you're in that Hall of Fame and you're doing it, what do you want to be remembered? I mean, I know we talked about giving back, but like is there a next chapter? Because we talk about manifesting, right? And like you got to visualize, you got to see what you want to become. The Blake post career, what do you want to be known as?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, it's just leaving a legacy of being a good person. Um, you know, can't take nothing with you at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter, how much money you make or anything like that. But you know, what did you do to change other people's lives? And then therefore, you change someone's life, then they go and change someone's lives, and then it's just a roller coaster effect, right? And so for me, it's just continuing to give back to the community, helping the younger generation come up and help them achieve their goals, and they're going to help achieve their younger generation goals. And so it was really just being remembered, as a good person, and doing things, here and there, like the farm, and
Yeah.
really just inspiring people, just to smile every day, be a good person, and live life for what it is. Like my grandfather always tells me every time I get off the phone with him, he's like, remember, life's what you make it. And so, that's why, you have a choice every time you wake up. Today I'm gonna smile. I'm gonna smile today. Life is good. And so, just be remembered as a good person.
You have a great smile. This is so cool for kids to help. Last we have a couple more, but random ones. I kind of asked to throw out like random questions if you don't mind.
Right, right.
Uh, you're such a hard worker. You've been nose down for so long. What would be your dream vacation spot you haven't been to that you dream about?
Ooh, yeah. It's crazy. I've never been out the country yet.
Oh, okay.
I don't even have a passport.
Okay.
I need to get that. But maybe like Tahiti. Um, I'd like to go to Tahiti.
Yeah. That sounds like a
Uh,
good one. I'm with you. Yeah, that's a good one.
yeah.
Any adventures, like do you look at, climbing a mountain or skiing or anything in the world? So getting that passport, you and I played tennis and I realized that even though I didn't make it to the highest levels like you did, I got to travel. I played in India and in South America and there, I guess you'll get out of the country if the Rams, if you play in one of the.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta get a passport. We're playing Australia next year.
No way. Oh, dude, that's gonna be so cool. That's
Yep,
exciting.
yep.
Hopefully you get to enjoy a little bit. That's I guess from LA. It's still a long flight,
Right, right.
but no, hopefully you get to stick around a little bit and have some cool experiences. This is unbelievable. I mean, man, you remind me when I was, God, it was my age when I started this and was living with Tahani, and same thing, just a lot of, we have a mantra that says dare to dream, have the courage to take risks, and show leadership through actions.
I
And
love it.
and you
I
you
love it.
you exude that. So I really hope that there's a lot we can do together, and anything that you want help and support with. I mean, the entire ICL community, you're pretty much a benchmark for it, and nothing that Coach McVay or Kevin or Dahani said about you're an exceptional man, and I really appreciate all that you're doing, and it's genuine, right? I mean, a lot of people you can talk to, and it's this is meant to be real talk, and everything is not as we talked about, everything's not a straight hockey lineup. It's a
Not
lot
at
of
all.
diversity, a lot of adversity. But we wish you all the best. We want to welcome you to the family, and just personally,
Appreciate
I
it. Thank
think Joseph, his mic was on, he'd probably agree with you that we really appreciate the time and want to go forward together and help continue to make everything possible.
Nah, I appreciate it, and let's continue to change lives. I'm glad to be a part of the team, and can't wait to help the younger generation chase their dreams because they're achievable. They're achievable.